LGBTQ parenting has been a source of controversy in the mainstream media for a while. Access to adoption rights, parental rights, and legal decisions have often been denied to LGBTQ couples. Anti-gay groups insist that children need both parents in order to have a successful and fulfilling childhood.
I've always wanted kids, as pretty much my whole life. When I was little, I would play house and I had dolls and blah, blah, blah. And I think part of it is just that, that's what's expected of women in in most societies, really. But, my oxytocin gets going and I'm just like, I gotta have a baby.
I'm Leah Houtman.
I'm Rachel.
Leah and Rachel Houtman are in a domestic partnership, living in a house together in Philomath, Oregon. They are trying to have a baby. Leah will be carrying the child with the help of a gay male donor, a close friend of theirs, who has agreed to donate his time and sperm.
We have a known donor, so it's a friend of ours, and basically we bought some specimen cups, they were actually marketed for diabetics to test their urine, which is lovely, and we gave those to our donor, and he kind of does his part, which I try not to think about too much, and then I go pick it up from him, and then we bring it back home. I put it in my cleavage to keep it warm. Rachel thinks that that's silly, but I'm pretty sure that I read that they live longer if they're kept closer to body temperature, so I figure anything we can do to make that better. And then we use what is considered the turkey baster method, but we use a syringe for oral medication, like for the liquid medication that you would give to a baby. And then I kind of lay there and wait for something to happen. That's kind of it. That's not really it. I also have to track my ovulation so that we can do it at the right time. So I was doing that with the little ovulation predictor strips for a while, but then I read that those are actually not that great if you're trying to do it, naturally. Those are better if you're doing what's called, not in vitro, what's the other one? Maybe it is in vitro. Anyway, where they literally put the semen right into the cervix. But that would happen in a clinic and everything, and we're doing it the kind of homeschool, low tech.
Well, it makes Leah a little more uncomfortable because she gets giggly whenever we talk about sperm now.
It is a little awkward. It's kind of weird knowing where it comes from. I can't look at our friends the same way anymore. I mean, we're still good friends and it hasn't made anything awkward between us, but it's definitely shifted that dynamic. And
for Leah,
he wants to talk about it at really weird times sometimes, at work. And I'm like, maybe we should talk about this some other time or something.
It's nice knowing that if there's a medical condition, or if there's a medical condition, we know the family history, and not only that we know the family history, but that we know the person. So if we needed to say, hey, our kid has leukemia, God forbid, to be able to go to somebody and say, hey, can you get tested to see, that's big for me. Leah has a drive to have a child like no one I've ever met in my life. So there's definitely no question that.
Oh, you mean in terms of being pregnant?
Being pregnant.
Yes, that is true. That's true.
We've talked about adoption.
And or fostering.
I think we'd be more likely to foster children, just because those are the kids who really need. We can provide a stable and loving place in an unstable time in their lives. So I think I've always been a little bit wary of adoption. There's a part of me that is like, I know, like in my brain, I know that it's not, there are as many things that could go wrong having a child of our own, but there's something visceral that scares me.
Yeah.
Because when you buy it from a sperm bank, you're looking at anywhere between 300 to 500 or 600 a vial. That's just for the semen itself.
Like I said, I mean, the finances are definitely a pro. It's completely free. We offered to compensate our donor, and he was offended and said, "Don't be ridiculous." And it's a odd way of bonding, but it's definitely something we can giggle about, whatever.
Leah giggles about it.
I giggle a lot. I think it's hilarious. I think it's really funny.
Well, when it comes down to it, as far as being queer, there's no one in our lives who would be concerned about our choice to have a child.
Right.
There are people who would I could see my parents being like, how are you going to make this work? We're not babysitting for
we've
you.
done a really good job of creating a community around us that will be supportive and just not associating, at least not purposely, with people who aren't going to be cool with it.
We have decided that between the two of us, we're comfortable with the donor being involved up to the point of being like an uncle. Because the child might have questions, or, that's the product of his body too, and if he wants to, see how that goes, that's fine. And also, he is a friend of ours, so it would be awkward to say, actually, you can never come in contact with my baby now. Before we even started trying, we got a lawyer, and we had him draw up power of attorney forms and advanced directives and all that, and that's something we've been meaning to do for a while anyway, just because by virtue of not being able to get legally married, we have to be more aware of, conscious of. So at the same time, we also had our lawyer draw up a contract between us and our donor that said that he would give up all rights to any baby that came of this union, and we would not hold him responsible for anything. So we won't ask for child support, and he won't try to get custody, basically. So we did that, and then once there's an actual physical baby, we're also going to do a second parent adoption. So in Oregon, because Rachel and I are registered domestic partners, she will go on the birth certificate as the second parent, but our lawyer was not sure how that would hold up in other states. So we're going to go ahead and do the second parent adoption as well, because there's been no question that that has held up. So we'll just, it's a lot more than anybody else would have to think about, but we just want to cover our bases.
The biggest thing is the second parent adoption, and apparently it's a formality according to our friend who's a lawyer.
Yeah.
It's a pain, but
it is. It's obnoxious, and we were able to get a good deal because it's our friend, but it's still money that other people wouldn't have to pay.
And it'll cost us to get the second parent adoption.
Right.
I don't even know how much.
I don't either.
So there's the Mitt Romney bit where he says, he didn't even know that gay families existed, and then, the right should be the children have a right to have a mother and a father, which is just ridiculous. I mean, it not only belittles gay, lesbian, transgender couples, but it also belittles single mothers, single fathers, who do a hell of a job raising their kids. And to suggest that that people cannot do as good of a job because being parents because there is not somebody with a penis and somebody with a vagina in the relationship is absolutely ridiculous.
I would say that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. There is no evidence that lesbians or any queer person has any worse result in terms of parenting outcomes, in terms of their kids growing up to be decent human beings. A lot of things that I've heard have said that incidences of child abuse, physical and sexual and emotional, are actually lower in same-sex parent households. There is nothing to suggest that kids with only one parent or with two parents of the same sex or gender have any more problems as compared to kids raised in what we like to call a traditional two parents of opposite gender household.